sorry, everybody. We are sitting in a hotel lobby on the east side of the state with another guest. Second recording we've done in the last, 12 hours.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Our guest today is a student getting her PhD in nutrition.
Clinical psychology.
Clinical psychology. That wasn't even close. I just feel like you do a lot of stuff with nutrition. She's an amazing runner, as well as just a really wonderful person. Her name is Sabrina. Sabrina, anything else you want to say about yourself? Introducing?
Aw. You're so sweet. Thank you so much for having me. No, I love both Mac and Paul. You guys are awesome, and y'all are really inspiring. And
Thank you. No one's ever told me that.
You inspire me beyond words.
No one's ever said that about Paul.
Sabrina, have you ever done an in-person podcast other than like yours? You do remote usually? Okay.
No, literally never.
How do you, I've always wondered, so you record yours remotely. How do you get there? How do you record it and then upload that?
Yeah, so I record on Zoom. It's really nice because then I can just extract the audio and put it into GarageBand. So I use a mic and everything. And I found out, so I used to have this problem where my Zoom would expire after 40 minutes. But now that I'm I have a student Zoom account, which I didn't know. So now I have unlimited time. So it's bougie and I love it.
Yeah, it expires after 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Check out Sabrina's podcast, The Psyched Runner. That Psyched Runner?
Yeah, That Psyched Runner.
Same with her Instagram handle.
Anywhere you get your podcast. Yeah, your Instagram. So is this your personal page, or have you always started this as a running page? That Psyched Runner.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have a personal Instagram, but not only really creepy people find it, low key. I've had some.
Do you ever use it?
Yeah, I post once a month maybe, and just pictures of my family and dogs that I don't want people to see when I'm But this page actually started during the pandemic, and it kind of started as a foodie page, a nutrition page, because I just fell in love with baking as a pandemic side hobby thing. Yeah, and then after maybe 6 months of having it, that's when I got into running, and I was I'm just going to post my running journey on here because I feel there's a lot of fitness influencers who also post a lot of foodie stuff, which is really fun. Yeah. And then it just kind of took off from there, fell in love with running, and now it switched from an athlete's apron because I was posting
I remember when it was that. Yes, I do remember when it was that. Yeah.
And then it switched to That Psyched Runner because psych and running is my life. So
you're psyched about running. Get it?
It's so tricky with women too, because I see a lot of women running influencers, or maybe just influencers in general, just don't use their name. Probably, I'm assuming, for anonymity. I think that's the right word.
I don't know.
Anonymity, or do you just want to keep it separate? Because literally my full name is my user ID.
Yeah, but that's your personal page.
Yeah,
there's a difference. I know, but if you had if you were to make an Instagram that was based on, I don't know, skateboarding, whatever you do.
Love skateboarding.
Wait, you rollerblading. You wouldn't be Paul Kenneth Allen because you already took that for your personal page.
Yeah,
so you have to think of something else.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you started running in the pandemic.
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
Just randomly? Were you lifting? Were you doing anything before?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I hated running my whole life. I was a gymnast for 12 years in high school and a cheerleader and a dancer. So I was that girl who was, apparently Mac was a cheerleader too. So we were both college cheerleaders. So fun. And then obviously the pandemic shut cheer down, and I went through injury and sickness, and just I had to take 2 years off of exercising, and I was wow, I can't really do gymnastics anymore. Or dance. And I started as a dance major in college actually, in pre-med.
Yeah, so pre-med dance major?
Yeah,
what?
It was weird.
You can do that?
Yeah.
Whoa. It was. So does that mean dancers can go in on to be doctors?
Yeah, if you take all the pre-med prereqs.
Whoa. Yeah, I didn't know you could just. Can I do anything pre-med?
What do you mean?
Any major.
Any major?
Any major at all. Yeah.
So you could literally be women gender studies and then pre-med.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that about pre-med people.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, you can do anything. But yeah, I had to withdraw all my dance classes my first year because I had some health issues, and I, again, had to take time off of exercising. And when I finally was able to exercise, it was during the pandemic, and gyms were closed, and I was like, don't know what to do. So I went for a half-mile run, and I'm like, that sucked, but I kind of liked it. And then I just kind of kept going. I signed up for my first 10K, and I was like, whoa, I finished that. I could go faster or longer, and here we are. So,
doing marathons. So I know from a personal standpoint, because obviously we're friends and we know each other, that you've dated runners in your past. Were you running when you dated those people, or no?
I was, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. That was after a few months of running.
Okay, and then you started dating a runner.
Yeah.
Okay, I wondered if like maybe it was like ironic that you dated a runner and then, you know, time went on, you weren't with this person anymore, and then you got into running, you know?
Is dating a runner like the worst though?
What? The worst? What does that mean? Like, isn't dating a runner what? I'm sorry.
Because you run it. Me and Mac were talking about this with Silas and Rashard last night because we both run.
Yeah.
Were you like running with your partner, or were you guys keeping that separate?
No, he is very fast.
Right, I figured that. Okay.
I was still a very beginner runner at that point, so no
that
running.
makes sense. Yeah, my ex was a runner, and he was really fast too.
Yeah.
And he probably knows your ex, but he would tell me it hurt him to run my paces. I mean, I was really like, at that point I wouldn't even like, I wouldn't have even said I was a runner. I don't even know. I didn't have a watch. I was just like basically conned into like going on a 1 mile run with him, and I just was like, and he's like, this hurts.
That's so funny.
I feel bad for him in that regard.
So you started, and then you said you started putting like baking stuff on that same page early on.
Yeah, that's how it started. So they're still there actually on my Instagram. See, I've been too lazy to clean it up, but like there's like posts from like 3 years ago of just like brownies I made and like, hey guys, this is a really good recipe, and I'm like cringing at myself, but I don't care.
Are people like coming to you like, oh my god, how did you make that? And you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like essentially, okay.
Were you so right now you have over 18,000 followers on Instagram, which is really cool. Did it just blow up this year, or have you always had like a pretty like decent following on there?
I would say it blew up this year for sure. After, this is kind of weird, but I feel like the reels, they kind of like, you have a couple that go viral and then it just like blows up your page. So I would say once I started switching to more niche content like psychology and running, just because that like my field and everything is when things really took off. I posted this one, so like, I mean, I had maybe last year about 8K follower, like between like 5 and 8K last year was like my area, I guess. But then I posted this reel and it was like me at the end of my first marathon, Bayshore Marathon, and I was bawling my eyes out. Got 5.7 million views.
That's crazy.
And it just like blew up. And then I got a bunch of followers from that. I hit like 10K. And then I posted like a psychology and running reel about like the relationship between trauma and endurance exercise.
A lot of people reposted that one. Like I didn't just see it from your page.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
like
so
I saw it from like other people's pages.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And it's like people, you know, I mean, it's research. So obviously there's a lot of like beef in that comment section. And that's totally fine because people can argue all they want, but there's a pretty big literature on like psychological elements and running, and so I started posting some of those research studies and citing them, and obviously having a disclaimer that it's research. And you know, just I always want to put that disclaimer out there because people come back at me, so disclaimer out there,
like you made it like you made it up, and it's
like it's her like it's her stat. She's like, this is real.
Exactly.
Do you ever get like free stuff now that you're an influencer?
Yes, I do, which is
nice.
Very nice. Yes.
Other than being like ambassadors of things, like do people are just like, hey, yo, I want to send you.
Yeah, Mac's gotten like weird nutrition products.
Okay, no, I got one weird. I don't get any DMs. This is like an ongoing conversation because no one DMs me ever. Just like other than like girls that I would be like, I have a relationship with these girls. Nobody DMs me, but I got one that was like, and it wasn't even through my DMs. It was through an email. This like company emailed my like personal email, was like, hey, we want to send you 2 products and like you review them.
Do you know what company it was? Are you allowed to share?
Optimal
Nutrition, I think.
Oh my gosh, yes. They emailed me, but it went to my spam account. And I was like, what in the world? Did you review them?
Yeah.
I did. I
Really
like
good?
I like their products, but I just didn't love, and maybe this is like something I'm just not used to because like I've never been like a person who reviews things and like, oh, like post this. And they were really big on like, my profile wasn't a business profile or creator profile.
Really?
It was just normal.
Oh, yeah.
And so then they were like asking me for quote unquote the insights. And I was like, I do not know what these insights are. And they were like, oh, and I was like, I didn't like, because you have to make your like profile like creator/athlete profile to get insights.
Weird.
And so they were like hounding me, like, send me insights, send me insights. I was like, I don't have these. I don't know. And then they're like, well, can you turn your page into a creator page and repost it?
I think you can't you have a business page even if you have 10 followers?
Yeah, you can. But I just hadn't done that. And
Okay.
so then they were asking me to like basically redo everything I already did, but like after I changed my profile to a creator one. And I'm like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I just got a little bit like, meh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm jealous of both of you in running because you guys got fast like within it seems like probably a year or two, pretty quick.
But we were college athletes. You
That's
were
true.
not.
It took me.
Just kidding.
I've been running for 6 years now, and I'm just getting to where
Oh.
I need to be.
You're fast. You're
Yeah,
amazing.
You are really fast.
Took
though.
a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, Sabrina, I like to watch you run. That sounds really weird, but like when I
Thank
like,
you.
Yeah,
like
that's
when
all
you
she
start
does.
like picking up the pace, and I'm like, I'm gonna sit back. I like watching you run because you look really strong.
Really?
Yeah, like
Oh,
you
thank
look like a
you.
strong runner. You know what I
So
mean?
do
There's some
you.
people who are like, thank you. There's some people who are like faster runners, but they just don't look like super
They don't have that
strong.
stride.
Yeah, like you look like strong legged. I don't know if that makes sense. Like you just, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, you've been killing in the gym. So do you have a regular gym routine?
I try to.
Somewhat.
But also going back to the strong runner thing really
Yeah.
quick. People tell me I look like a bunny, like hopping, and I'm like,
Kinda,
do
yeah.
I? Like, what?
I
I've
don't know.
never
Well, because like
analyzed my
your
stride.
heel doesn't really hit.
Oh,
right, when
that's
you-
Really?
funny.
Okay, I've not noticed
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's right. I hear that all the time.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
people will be like, if we're running in the snow, I just see your like tippy toes,
Very
and I'm
forefront.
like,
forefront.
Whoa.
It's better than heel striking, though.
Yeah.
honestly.
yeah, actually, very true.
I don't know. I didn't really pay attention to whether or not you look like a bunny, I guess. I don't know.
Well, thank you for that feedback. That's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
kind. You also look like a strong runner, but I do have a regular gym routine. I try to at least. Sometimes life gets too busy and I'll
Sure.
like miss a few weeks, but
Yeah.
I try to keep it consistent. So like 3 days a week. In my off season, I typically lift pretty heavy. I'll do like heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, and really try
Nice.
and like get really sore. But when I'm like in a marathon training block, it'll be lighter weight, body
Right.
weight, just like easy 20, 30-minute lifts.
Yeah, I
Do
like
you
that.
think you will continue being in marathon training blocks for like a while? Like, what's your plan?
don't
You
know.
have Boston, obviously, in coming up in April.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else on the docket after that? Any more marathons?
I have Chicago.
Okay,
Oh,
2020.
shoot.
Yeah.
See you there.
24, yeah.
Oh, wait, you're running Chicago?
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Wait, you are too?
No.
I was like,
No.
no, you're not. I was
No.
like, okay.
Uh-uh.
But you'll be there.
Yeah, I didn't
Good.
sign up again this year. They kept emailing me, and I was like,
Really?
I know.
well, yeah, because they email you if you qualify. Like
yeah.
through last year's Chicago. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, so I'm not signed up for anything after Carmel yet.
You don't. You're asking her if she feels like any kind of burnout yet.
Well, not necessarily burnout, but it's just like there is like I don't know if you get this, but like I'm thinking ahead, and I'm like I have consistently been in a marathon training, like
Oh,
not a
yeah,
half
yeah.
marathon, not a 5K, not a 10K marathon.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
my off seasons are like 2 to 3 weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like I get a big off season because I've been doing fall and spring, fall and spring, fall and spring, and like I don't know. Sometimes I think about it and I'm like, when do I just like maybe take a little break from marathon
Yeah,
training cycles?
yeah.
You know?
I know. I've been thinking about that too because like I definitely need. I feel like so I started my very first marathon training block exactly a year ago today, and then I wasn't supposed to do Chicago this fall, and then something happened with the company I was working with, and they like sponsored me to run for them. So I was like, I have to take this opportunity. It's like,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
for sure.
So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and then obviously Boston I was signed up for, and then again I was not supposed to sign up for Chicago next year because I'm like maybe I should take a break for like a season and just like focus on like, you know,
Shorter,
lifting,
faster,
shorter,
yeah.
faster, stuff like that. But then all my friends applied for the lottery in Chicago, and I'm like, okay, I need to like sign up if they're all gonna do it this year. And they're like, it's a one and done type of thing. I'm like, perfect. And then nobody got in the lottery. So
disappointing.
now I'm signed up, and if I defer, I have to pay again. So I'm like,
wait, you have to pay again if you defer?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was so dumb, and I said it was non-refundable, which I'm very happy to be running, and I'm so blessed that I do have a spot in the, I mean, like, because I know so many people were heartbroken that they couldn't get in, and so I'm excited. And honestly, like, even if I do focus on like shorter and faster stuff over the summer, I can still run it for fun. And like, so I'll just kind of see where I'm at mentally and physically next year. But I think
because you've run it obviously 4 times, and like, you know, worked your butt off, and like you had, you know, a great time, but now you could take it and like actually enjoy the ride of it, and like look at all the different cities, or like not cities, neighborhoods, and all the things that are happening. You know?
But also, you know, let's PR. No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. PR or bust.
Paul drains me.
Well, it's funny because during the Chicago Marathon, I asked Mac, I was like, oh, do you remember like going through Chinatown, how crazy it was? She's like, I have no memory.
Out.
Yeah.
Chinatown.
Chinatown
was like mile 20. I'm like, nope. I saw I remember the arc or whatever the red thing
that,
is.
Sabrina? You have no memory of it either. Wow.
I like the stimulation there.
Yeah.
I was
overwhelming.
Like, whoa.
I've never had like almost like a panic attack / anxiety during race. Like the first 10 miles, I was like battling an anxiety attack.
Oh my gosh, you were too?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then I
feel so validated right now.
You did too?
Yeah. And then by the time I settled down after mile 10, I was like, oh crap, now I'm hurting. And I'm like, this kind of sucks because I think I still have to keep going. And I was like, okay, so if I wasn't mentally hurting, I'm now physically hurting, and there's no break, and this is great.
Dude, I never had that, an anxiety attack during a run.
It wasn't like, it was weird. It wasn't like necessarily an anxiety attack.
Like I wasn't like panicking and like having like a full-blown panic attack, but it was just like I didn't feel at ease, like, oh, this is, I'm having fun, I'm settling in. Like I didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I was looking for her, Mac. I was looking for Mac at like mile 24 because I saw Richard. And I'm like, I know she's got to be close to him. And then I was like, I think that's her friend Sabrina. So I just I think I took a photo or video of you. I was like, you could send that to Mac. Or I told Mac, I was like, you could send that to her because I couldn't find anybody else. I'm like, fuck, I can't.
Well, that was right at that weird turnaround thing.
Yeah, it was.
Which was the longest turnaround of my life.
So
oh my gosh, that was awful.
So, whoa, look at that guy.
What?
Oh my gosh.
What an outfit.
We
if
just
you're
saw
listening
a guy
to this
in a trench
podcast,
coat.
Trench coat with like designs.
I kind of like recording like in an open
Ozzy.
space like this. It feels like cool. You know.
I wonder if people think we're like news anchors here in the lobby.
No.
So Sabrina, something I've noticed about you as a human is you're very positive, and you love to say like queen and slay.
Yeah.
You know, all those things. Are you always like that?
Yeah, I mean,
you don't ever get down.
You don't ever get
I
like,
do.
Okay.
Yes, I just call everybody queen because y'all are
Thank
amazing.
you.
Of course.
You are. Like, I'm a queen.
queen.
Avery, today on our long run, you were going up. She's like, Paul is a content king. And I'm like, yeah, he's king.
Yeah. Not for myself.
Yeah.
No, he loves to ask me, like, where are my photos? I'm like, I don't know. They got lost in the vault.
Yes, I'm pretty positive. I definitely have. I mean, this year, honestly, has been rough. Just like I've had a lot of like life things happen, and I've tried to stay positive, but there's definitely been some seasons of this year where I've just been like, okay, I'm very pessimistic for like weeks at a time, but it's like, you know, we all go through those phases, and I still try and look at the positives, and like no matter what, like I'm going to be positive and fake it till I make it sometimes, because that's what I gotta do.
That's great.
Well, people want to be around that more than they want to be around some downers.
Person.
For sure.
It's just, it's always funny, at least for me, when I meet women, because like I would never like put myself in this bracket of like sweet, like very nice and sweet.
No,
yes, you are.
No, not that I'm like
so
not
sweet.
Not that I'm like not a nice person, but just like I feel like it's always really fun for me to talk to people like you who are just like bubbly and sweet, and like we have a friend like that named Danielle too, and she's also just like, I don't know how to explain it.
Kind.
See what I mean?
Sorry.
Like the whole time we're running today, you're like, I just love running with you. I'm like, this is the greatest run of my life.
Max like, I want to go home and rot.
I say things like that. And you're just like always so sweet.
I just like always want people to be happy. Like that's like so cliche, but like
that's such a good quality though to have. You know what I mean?
It's so sweet. But I just love like seeing people smile and seeing people happy, and I don't know. I just want to.
Now you have family. You have family like 2-3 hours ish north of here.
17 hours, I feel like.
No, Travis.
No, it's just like about 4 hours, probably.
Yeah,
4 hours.
4.5 hours.
Because it's 2 hours from us. Think about it.
Yeah. Are you pretty close with them?
Yeah, definitely.
You are?
My dad, he lives up there full time, and then my mom and my stepdad, they go down to Florida for the winter. And so I'm pretty close with everybody. It's great.
So you got 2 spots you can go to.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
I have step siblings. I don't have any biological though.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're kind of an only child in a way.
Yeah.
What age did they get divorced? Do you mind me asking?
Yeah, when I was 16.
Ooh, tough.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah.
So you were still in high school?
Yeah, in high school.
Okay. So I'm sure that was traumatic at that age.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It was definitely a hard time, and I definitely went through a lot at that point, and there was just like other family stuff going on. And it was definitely one of the harder seasons of my life.
Of course, a janitor is right now rolling through with cleaning supplies.
You can't even hear that in here.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, okay. Good.
People don't need to know
I
that
interrupted
janitors
a
in here.
very touching moment.
So when did are both of your parents now remarried?
No, but partially yes. I like to call him. My dad has been dating his girlfriend for I think like 8 or 9 years now. Okay. So I just basically call her my stepmom.
Yeah, it's like almost common law.
Yeah, and we call each other family.
Or do you call her by her first name?
I call her by her first name, and same with my stepdad. Yeah.
That'd be kind of wild.
How old are your step siblings?
They are all at least in their 30s.
So they're
much
not
older.
half their step. They came
their
in
step.
with the marriage.
Yep.
Okay, so they're in their 30s. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and fun fact, my mom and my stepdad got married after like dating for a couple weeks.
Really?
A month, yeah. So that was like instantaneous.
Was that like weird for you?
I mean,
that's tough.
There were good and bad elements for sure. Like, I don't want to say, just in case anybody's listening in my family, it was definitely, there's challenging elements and also really beautiful elements of it too. But
I mean, that's really cool that like, I mean, they knew at that point. And obviously, how long have they been married now?
I think it's been like, how many years actually? Maybe like 6, I think.
Okay.
So it's worked out for
they've been doing great.
Yeah. And I feel like at that age too, like, they both obviously been through serious relationships, marriage, kids, that kind of stuff. Like, they know who they are. They know what they want. And it's like, if you know what you want, I mean, they knew what they were doing at that age.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
My biological parents were married until my mom passed away, and my dad remarried when he was 50. And then I saw like, oh, he can actually be happy. Because I don't know if it was like that for you growing up, but I never really saw my parents like super consistently happy.
Yeah.
And once it like you actually see that when they're a little bit older, it's kind of nice. Even though it's tough to see them with somebody else, it's like, this doesn't feel right. But
for sure.
I just cannot imagine. Like, I cannot imagine my mom and my dad. Even when one of them dies, like, I just I don't get how that's gonna work. There's just like, really, it doesn't make any sense to me, because there's really nobody for either of them.
Yeah, you kind of have to like reframe your whole like worldview and just like view on like what family dynamics are, and like you kind of have to like grieve a previous relationship that was lost and form new connections, and so it's a whole dynamic.
Speaking of dating, you are in your low 20s?
Yes, I am 23.
Okay, I thought 24, so I was pretty close.
You were super close.
I was. You're obviously dating. You're single currently. How is that going? Like, what's the dating? I haven't been on the dating market. I was married for a year. I dated that person for 5, got divorced, and then pretty much I went on like 1 or 2 Hinge dates, and then Paul and I were friends before that, so then he asked me on a date, and I went on a date with him, and then we've been dating since. So I haven't been out in the dating world. How is it?
Oh my gosh.
What's it like out there?
Yeah, what's it like out there in the streets?
Oh wow, it's pretty wild.
It's pretty wild.
Yes. Also, I did not know you got a divorce.
I
Yeah.
did.
Oh, we'll talk about that later.
We could,
Rashard and Silas had the same reaction. They were like, "What?" And then they were like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "Listen, I'm not that old. I'm only 28." But
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I want to hear more about that. For Shard and Silas and I. Yeah, it's definitely weird. Not gonna lie, it's not the. I mean, it's pretty good, but at the same time, it's like pretty weird. So personally, I identify as a Christian, and I went on a lot of the Christian dating apps, and those are
there's
terrible.
Multiple?
There's terrible.
Wait.
I'm sorry. Yeah. There's multiple.
Oh, okay.
There's like
what one's like
3.
Christian Dingo?
Dingo.
What is it called? Isn't
Christian
it like
Mingle?
Christian
Mingle. I knew it was
Mingle.
I knew it was an Ingle. I just didn't know.
Let me ask you let me ask you this: are the guys on there just they're not
They're not
cute?
They're
They're not Christian.
Well, they are, but
okay.
not. It's like
They
they're not
wanna-
that cute.
They're not
And
cute. Yeah.
They're just all weird. They're all insecure. And like every single guy I met on a Christian app has just been so like, they send me like 20-page long text messages.
Whoa.
And I'm like, they're like so insecure. They're like, oh my gosh, like I'm so sorry to bother you. And I'm like, dude, like you're acting like me. Like
Right,
stop.
right.
You're acting like me. You're like, let me
literally,
be like this.
Exactly.
What is your worst date story?
My worst
Like
date.
recent. I guess it doesn't have to be recent. You've been single for how
Oh my
long?
gosh.
How many?
Like
years?
2
Decade.
years now.
2 years. A decade. 2
Yeah.
years.
Oh my gosh, I have.
You have a lot.
I feel so bad. Okay.
It's okay.
So-
Everyone has some bad. They
No
probably
names.
left. Yeah, you don't have to say names.
You're right.
They will never find this, honestly.
Good.
No.
Please. Okay.
And if
yeah,
they do, they'll
won't.
probably laugh about
There's
it
no
at this
way.
They really
point.
won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went on a date with this guy, and I don't think he understood what it means to be social or have like and here's the thing, like I don't like to judge. Like I am I'm a clinical psychologist, obviously supervised, but like, and so I know that, people can be on the spectrum and people can have different, things going on. So I totally respect that and understand that. But over text, we texted for a couple months, and he just seemed like so chill, like so cool.
Normal.
And just like very normal. And then we get there and he just kind of stares at me and doesn't say anything.
What?
And I have to like make all the conversation at first. I'm like, this is a little bit weird. And then like, he's like, do you want me to like hold the door? Like, should I hold the door open for you? He kept
he was
asking
asking
me.
you like what he should do.
Yeah. And so, I mean, like, here's the thing with, I don't want to make assumptions, but people who are on the spectrum, they do need to like understand what the proper social behaviors are, and typically they like will say things like, oh, I'm like doing this because I learned it this way type of thing. Like they don't have that natural intuition, and so I'm like, okay, maybe it is on the spectrum. But anyway, and then it was just like very interesting. Like every time I would say something, he would laugh for like a minute straight, really loud, like really.
Was it like funny things, or he just was like a very normal, like that was just the response?
Like casual conversation.
Yeah, it was not
like, oh, my dog died.
yeah. Actually, we did talk about that, and I
laugh?
did say my dog died. No, he goes, what? That's wild. No way.
Bro.
And I was like, uh-oh. And
You're like,
I know.
You're like,
I
well,
was like,
that's a sign.
I know. I just like kept checking my watch. I'm like, this is not going well. And then like I walked back to my car, and he's like, oh wait, should I text you later? And I'm like, sure. And then I was like, oh no.
So let me ask you this, following that story. If you go on a date with a man and you're not interested, do you feel like, what are your like, not go to, what are your not your necessarily standards, but I guess like what are the rules you have like in your head about like, do I let them know immediately I'm not interested, or do I not even owe them that, or like it depends on how many dates you've been on, like what like how do you approach that?
Yeah, I usually like to give them a couple chances. So if I'm not feeling it the first
nice.
time, I'm going to be
really
like,
nice.
I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to go on another date, just see it out. Because I mean, like, people get nervous, and like not our behaviors in one instance are not necessarily reflective of who we are as people. So even if I'm like really not vibing with the guy, I'll be like, yeah, like let's go get coffee again or something. And then if I'm not feeling it after that second one, I'm gonna be like, okay, this behavior has been consistently observed across a couple different times and locations. So maybe I'm gonna say something like, hey, like I don't think we're gonna be a good match. I wish you the best.
Let them know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
like I'll let
really
them know.
nice.
So I don't like. I have ghosted 2 guys that were just like really weird, but
creatures.
Yeah, like one dude, he found me on, so he like matched with me on Hinge, and then he became obsessed with me. He like kept texting me, and then like, oh my gosh, multiple a day, like so many texts, and I was not replying. He's like, oh, you haven't replied in 2 hours, are you okay? And I'm like, what? Then he found all of my social media accounts. He found my like running account, and I'm like, my last name isn't even on there. Like, you do not know. Like, I keep that a little bit more on the DL just for like, I see patients and I have students, so I don't necessarily want them finding me. And so he found that account. He found my Snapchat, which I haven't used in years.
Back
and
up.
I was like,
Whoa.
okay. And then he was like, oh, is it weird that I found out your accounts? I just didn't reply to that. I ghosted
He said,
him.
was it weird?
Yeah. And I did not reply to him. I ghosted him, and it's fine.
Those
We're
guys
done.
are scary, man.
That is scary.
So scary. I know.
It's like, if you have to ask if it's weird.
Because what's next?
it's
Are you going to
weird.
be outside?
Yeah.
Like,
for
what's
real.
what else is left?
Yeah.
For real.
Are you outside right now?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Guys have no self-awareness sometimes. It's kind of it's just insane.
Yeah.
Animalistic.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
True. I also feel like they just think that like I have encountered this in not only like relationships that I've had or like dates that I've been on, but also I've seen it in men that like I just in the wild.
Yeah.
In the
Well,
wild.
is that I feel like they do think that like once they've either matched with you or like they've given you a compliment and you've said like even thank you, they feel like they're entitled to.
Yeah.
Now you like them.
Yeah.
Now like they're
Yes.
you and them.
You're the property.
That's a thing. Yeah. Like
freaking know.
It's like it's really interesting. Like an interesting concept of like
Yeah.
just because a woman either says thank you or goes on one date with you or even like accepts a friend request or responds to your Hinge thing, it does not mean now you guys are an item and she's your girlfriend and your property
Right.
and like she's
Exactly.
entitled to like you.
Guys,
I know.
guys listening, chill out, back up, and do not add her on Snapchat. Chill.
Just like
Thank you.
but I guess it's also like, is it hypocritical or like, I don't know the other word for it, to be like, but if it's the right guy, like,
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah,
like when I
very
liked,
true.
yeah, like if when I first started liking you, well, okay, we were friends first. So I guess like
she
if
was
I,
insane, yeah.
no, but if like I liked a guy who I wasn't already friends with, I feel like I wouldn't have an issue with him
Yeah.
adding me on all social media. But I also feel like maybe there's like a mutual understanding of like, okay, I've given him a green light and he's taking it versus like I've given him a yellow light and he just went full
Yes.
force,
Right.
like ran it.
Yeah, that's
Kinda thing.
Absolutely. That's why communication is so important in relationships, is to like be kind of upfront with people, be like, hey, I'm interested in getting to know you, or like give him like a clear green
Yeah.
light. Like yellow lights, guys, like yellow lights are simply like being nice or like
Yeah.
saying thank you. You know, like you don't need
Yeah.
to like go crazy over a girl who gives you a compliment.
No.
Like, you know, guys, like chill. a
Is
little
it
bit.
hard like to go on dates or to even have friends and not like diagnose them since you know a lot about
gosh.
psychology? I just
It's
wonder
so
that.
hard.
Is
Okay,
it though?
I wonder because we have a friend who's a psychologist and I'm always like, I wonder if he's analyzing me right now. Like I just wonder because I'm like, oh, that's so fun. Like I wonder what he thinks.
Yeah, I mean, ethically, we're not
Right.
supposed to, but it's a very natural instinct now because we are observing and analyzing behavior all day, and it's mostly like, I don't know, I have a lot of people kind of like they'll call me for like advice and stuff and
Yeah.
just like talk through their problems, so it's kind of just like you're always
Yeah.
on the psychology like
What's like the
game.
first thing you are not diagnosing, but like noticing patterns in? Is it like you're noticing they have clear trauma? Are you noticing like they might be on the spectrum? Like what are your like what's your go-to of like your brain naturally starts like picking things out?
Yeah,
Or is it just personality types?
It's really just personality. Like I'm never going to like I don't necessarily pathologize people. So I'm not going
Okay.
to be like, this person clearly has this disorder.
Right,
like
right,
I would
right. Yeah.
never, like I don't do that. I typically like to look for the positive elements of a person first. And like, obviously like if I notice that there's a pattern that I'm observing in somebody that's maybe a little bit problematic to their well-being,
Yeah.
then I'll notice that a little
Yeah.
bit, but it's not necessarily like, oh, they have this disorder. It'll just be kind of like, okay, like what's going on underneath there? Like maybe there is a little bit of trauma, or if I notice they don't like to talk about a certain subject,
Yeah.
it could be something like that. But I mainly just observe personality patterns, and then I kind of go from there and see like, okay, how can I best relate to this person and make them feel loved and
Oh.
seen and known
Okay.
based on how they interact with the world and others.
So you're using it more as like a tool to make people feel safe and comfortable.
yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh,
That's good. That's good.
unless you go on a weird date.
And then you're like, I'm out, bruh.
Yeah.
So you came from, you said gymnastics, cheer and dance, right?
Yes.
Whoa. Is there a culture in gymnastics? I know Matt came from cheer as well, with like eating patterns that are problematic with women. Same thing. Like, do you have a background with disordered eating in terms
Yes.
of like, okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Gymnastics and dance and cheer, they all have that terrible, I guess, like, you know, messaging to women. And yes, I do have a history with disordered eating. I struggled with an eating disorder for a couple of years in early college, and I was inpatient for like 6 months.
Oh,
So
really?
it
Okay.
was a pretty severe
Did you
Yeah.
have to leave the
thing.
state for inpatient?
I did,
Okay.
yes.
I
Did you,
wondered.
Mac?
No, I went to CTED.
What is that?
It's in Grand Rapids, but it's really bad.
It's like AA, right?
No, that's EDA.
Oh, EDA. Okay.
No, it's the same concept of like an inpatient and an outpatient. They have temporary stuff, but it's just like most of the eating disorder stuff is not. There's nothing in Michigan.
You said you were outpatient for 6 months?
Inpatient. And then outpatient. We actually went to the same outpatient place. So
oh, hey.
I know, it was great.
It's like, hey, do you remember so-and-so? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So wait.
No, we did do that.
Oh, okay.
Like,
inpatient, like you're on site, you're not getting out of there.
Yeah.
You're cooking meals.
It was hospital.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it was pretty severe.
Sure.
And that's why I was not allowed to exercise for a couple of years. It actually started with more of like a gut health thing too. So it was like stomach aches, and then I didn't want to eat because I didn't want to throw up.
Right.
And then it turned into like, oh, I'm a gymnast, I'm a dancer, this could be good for me. And it just snowballed from there. So
did you feel supported by the programs you were in and the coaches? Oh, really?
Or not the like athletic.
Oh, no. I meant athletics, sorry.
Oh, yeah. My cheer coach, yes. But my other coaches and stuff, no. But like my cheer coach was amazing. She like really wrote me letters and stuff and texted me every day. And she was just like so sweet. Like that cheer coach like changed my whole outlook on like my faith I have in humanity. Yeah. Like I love her so much. And
was
like
this college athletics or
college?
Okay.
Yeah. So I love her, and she was a huge just miracle in my life to help me get through that. And so yeah, it was really beautiful, and I'm just so grateful that it all happened when it did, because it happened like right before the pandemic started. So here's the thing. I am obviously very much runner, type A girly, like overachieving person. Like, we are
perfectionist.
Like, exactly. Yeah. Like all runners in the community are very like this. So I, of course, didn't want to stop school or do anything like that. And so I had to find a program that would let me do school, because I was like, I need to find a way to do school online. And so I had some professors that were like, yeah, like I'll just like start recording lectures for you, I guess, on like FaceTime or something like that. Then 2 days later, the pandemic shut down everything, and they're like, actually everything's on Zoom, so you can just stay in school and it's going to be no different. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is such like the most perfect timing for it to happen. And it was just it was great.
Love that.
Were you in a relationship at the time?
I was not. No.
Okay.
No.
I just wondered if that, like, how that was being in a relationship and going through that.
Yeah. No. My last boyfriend was right after I went through recovery. So.
Is the culture like in the athletics, like in on your teams, college or high school, with girls that are going through that? Are you guys talking to other girls about it, or is it more like kind of kept secret among the girls?
From my experience, we had women on our cheer team in college, and it was definitely not talked about.
Really?
Because I think in a way it's really great that you had a coach who was incredible at that. I always had male coaches, and females were like, I mean, there were female coaches too, but a lot of them were male coaches at both of the universities that I went to. And there were girls struggling with that, but I also feel like in a way it was not idolized, but like encouraged.
Yeah.
In a way. Like, you, like if you've watched Cheer, the documentary, there's a certain aspect of that that Netflix show that I really hate. There's a lot of aspects, but one of the things I hate is that the girls start talking about some insane diet, and they're all doing it, and it's like nobody's ever intercepting that. No coach on that show, no other athlete, none of the men, none of the women are saying, hey, like this is fucked up. Yeah, like we shouldn't be doing that. Like, and I just feel like that, at least when I was in school, that was still kind of the MO. Is like we had one girl who very much had to leave for inpatient. And it was just like more of like a gossip of like, oh, she's going, like whispers and whispers. But like nobody at that point, the coaches should have sat the team down and been like, listen, this is something we're noticing, not just with her, but like a lot of you women are doing some of these disordered eating things and having eating disorders. And no one did that. And I think there was an opportunity to. But I think in cheerleading, there is a little bit of a stigma around like, what is it, an eating disorder, or like, should we just really all try to like look really little because we have to be thrown around and like that's just a sport kind of thing. I don't know. That's my experience, I guess, and my opinion on that. But
yeah, I think so. Especially I was a flyer. So, I mean, even when I was like really like it kind of started as like, I I originally like unintentionally lost a bunch of weight from my stomach, and then they were like, oh my gosh, you're so easy to throw around, you can do all these tricks, and I'm like, let's go. So sorry, that was bad, but like I mean that's what, like my brain was.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I definitely feel that though, because people were always talking about like, oh my gosh, like make sure gotta like poop before I go fly or something like that, so I can
How
be lighter.
Can you be lighter? Yeah, and I remember working with the men on our team, because I was a flyer too, but I was on co-ed teams for both of my experiences, and the men would just like rag on the women of like, I don't want to fly her, she's too tall, or she's you know, she's not as light. And like I remember one time when I was definitely struggling with an eating disorder, the guy that I was seeing at the time actually, and also the guy who was throwing me around, was like, oh, you're skinny fat now.
Yikes.
And I was like, excuse you? Like, I remember it hurt my feelings so bad, but it wasn't one of those things where it was like, I took it as like, oh no, that means I still have fat in my body, and like he doesn't want to fly me kind of thing.
Yeah. That's tough.
You would think that it's coming from the top down, because if the athletes don't feel comfortable and they feel shame amongst each other, that's because the top is not being supportive, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, it's just they're not saying anything. But I also feel like, again, I think it's awesome that the coach at your university like was so supportive, because I do feel like that generation, I don't know how young or old your coach was, but the generation I feel like that is coaching universities are like our moms generation. And like you've heard the term almond mom. I just feel like I just feel like that generation is very much like, everyone needs to be skinny. There's not an issue with this. Like do what you have to.
Yes.
No problem.
Like, oh my gosh, 100%. She was a very young coach. That definitely was helpful. But like, I mean, like, a grandparent in my life is a very much almond grandparent, and you know, she hasn't had a Christmas cookie this season because of, you know, that's all she cares about is being thin. And so I mean, that's just like the generation that they grew up in. You know, it was like they don't know any different, and that's just kind of what it was. But I definitely feel that, like, even in, I mean, I definitely feel like the culture has gotten better, but I remember in AP bio class we were talking about like, you know, sex hormones and stuff like that, and our teacher was like, like a lot of girls like who are really active struggle with amenorrhea, and it's really good, it's a sign of fitness. Like she told that to everybody, and she like literally was like, lose
your period and there is something wrong. Like something is wrong if you're not getting a period.
Exactly. And so she was like, these girls on like the teams over here like said that they don't have theirs, which is really good because they're an athlete. And I'm like, you're a teacher. Like why are you saying this? And so
I know
it's like really, it was really toxic. And I'm like, okay, at least there's like more awareness around like the consequences of this, and like what happens if you don't, and like realizing that that's not a healthy component. And so, but I definitely feel like that was a very generational problem.
And the thing is that I struggle with is I can't tell if it's actually getting better, or if because I struggled with an eating disorder and I make it very, very known to the people around me. And like because my mom used to be an almond mom, but like now she's very much conscious of like, you're not eating enough, or we have to eat more, or like eat this, or like let's have dessert, or like she makes it a point because she knows I struggle with that. And I do feel like the people in my life know I had an eating disorder, and I'm not afraid to be like, we have a group chat for our team, and if anyone puts anything in there about weight or calories, I delete it immediately.
Good.
And it's just like, I feel like the people around me know that it's not okay, and maybe I'm like, is it getting better, or is it just that people know I'm not okay with that, so I feel like it's better?
For sure.
You know?
I definitely feel like in the, like, at least social media community, it's a little bit better. I just, again, but also, like, is that a confirmation bias? Like, am I seeking out only good influences? Because, like, I mean, I'm not going to follow people who post toxic stuff.
Same, like, I delete all of them.
Yes, exactly. We were just talking about that on our long run this morning. But yeah, there are some really great dietitians out there, and just, like, influences in the running community that are like, hey, like, let's raise awareness for Red S, and realizing it turned in from the female athlete triad to Red S, because realizing that males can struggle too. And they often do, so it's a huge thing.
Well, we got to wrap up. Sabrina's got so many other media press junkets.
Oh my gosh, all the time. No, I got
a date with Starbucks.
I have a long day.
We got a 2-hour drive, but we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for coming
to this hotel
we'll have to do
lobby.
it again so that we can have more time, because I feel like we just scratched the surface and there's so much to talk about.
I know, right? I love being on here. You guys are literally the best, and this is so fun.
Thank you.
So stay tuned, because they will be on my podcast sometime. So
that psyched runner, go look her up.
Yes, please. And y'all need to check out their podcast more. If you're already listening to this, though, then you know. So
thank you.
Listen to this
Peace.
podcast. Bye, y'all. Bye. Thank you.